Welcome to Town Square Tales, where we uncover the layered stories of local history. I'm your host, Staci Glover. Today, I invite you to journey with me back in time, where the echo of pickaxes once mingled with the pealing of church bells and the chants of ancient liturgies. Nestled in the small town of Brookside stands St. Nicholas Russian Orthodox Church, the oldest Russian Orthodox congregation in the state and perhaps the South. Founded in 1894 by Slavic immigrants fleeing poverty and persecution in Eastern Europe, this modest structure, with its iconic onion dome silhouette, endures as a symbol of resilience, cultural preservation, and unwavering faith. To understand St. Nicholas Church, we must first look into the coal, iron, and steel boom in Jefferson County and the subsequent need to recruit workers. In the mid-1800s, industrialists focused on the area's abundant coal seams. In fact, Jefferson County is one of the few places in the world where all the raw materials necessary for steel production, iron ore, limestone, coal, and water, are found in close proximity. By 1890, about 200 miners were operating in 3 underground mines in the state. However, progress faced challenges during the Civil War and Reconstruction periods and slowed industrial development. The establishment of Birmingham in 1872 marked the beginning of an extraordinary industrial expansion beginning in the 1880s. Yet, local farmers accustomed to an agrarian lifestyle with natural rhythms resisted industrial work regulated by clocks and rules. To fill the labor gap, coal operators recruited workers from northern states in Europe, targeting hardy Slavic immigrants, primarily from the area of the Carpathian Mountains, where Ukraine, Slovakia, Poland, Hungary, and Romania meet. These individuals are known as Carpatho-Rusyns, a name steeped in rich cultural heritage. Let's take a moment to delve into some fascinating terminology. The term Carpatho beautifully represents the majestic Carpathian Mountains, known for their steep, lush slopes that embrace rich, ancient traditions. The word Rus traces its name to an early medieval state and its remarkable people, known as the Rusyns. The Carpathian region is a vibrant tapestry, woven through time and shaped by the influences of the Hungarian, Austrian, and Russian empires. The people from this area are often described as Slavic, but that doesn't refer to an ethnicity, but rather a diverse language family that includes Slovak, Russian, Polish, Czech, and others. Because of this rich cultural blend, categorizing these people can be pretty complex. For instance, while I may identify as American, my own ethnic heritage includes English and German roots. Pushed from their homelands by poverty and forced military conscription, these Slavic peoples brought mining experience and a vibrant Christian faith, shaped by icons, incense, and chants, and a vibrant culture, folk dances, accordion music, and hearty foods like pierogi and borscht. Arriving at northern U.S. ports, they were lured south by recruiters who promoted Alabama's industrial and natural resources. From 1890 to 1910, these immigrants, listed in the census as Austro-Hungarian and Slovak-speaking, settled in Brookside. In 1894, just 8 years after the opening of Brookside's first mine, these immigrants created a Slavic community, bringing their traditions and recipes to Alabama's coalfields. Most of the immigrants were either Catholic or Orthodox, and each congregation begins modestly, gathering in homes or makeshift spaces for service. Since it was difficult to get an Orthodox priest to come to Brookside, in the early years, Brookside's Orthodox congregants attended St. Cyril and Methodius Catholic Church, erected in 1896. By the 1900s, Brookside's Slavic community had grown, and the need for a permanent house of worship had become more urgent. And by 1907, Brookside's Orthodox Christians separated from the Roman Catholic congregation, setting out to build a church of their own. Sloss Sheffield Iron and Steel, which owned the largest mines in Brookside, played a significant role in the community's development by donating the land for a church. This generous act paved the way for the Orthodox congregation to construct the first permanent Orthodox church in Brookside, dedicated to St. George, which was completed in 1909. This might be a good place to stop and briefly compare the Roman Rite and Byzantine Rite churches before we move on. This summary will take us back some 2,000 years, but I promise I'll be brief. It's a very elementary summary. I'll have some references in the description box if you're interested in more information. To better understand the historical context of the Orthodox community in Brookside, it's helpful to reflect on the Great Schism of 1054, which marked the division between the Roman Catholic and Eastern Orthodox churches. This split can be traced back to an earlier administrative decision made by the Roman Emperor Diocletian in 285. He divided the Roman Empire into eastern and western halves. As a result of this separation, the Roman Empire eventually developed into two distinct entities, each with its own political and religious practices, leading to the profound split that would shape the future of Christianity to this day. The Eastern Empire, centered in Constantinople, thrived with Greek as its liturgical language. At the same time, the Western Empire, rooted in Rome, adopted Latin. By 1054, tensions boiled over when disputes over the Nicene Creed erupted. The Filioque clause, which addresses the question of whether the Holy Spirit proceeds from both the Father and the Son, was a key theological disagreement between the two branches of Christianity. The Orthodox position is that the Roman Church had added the clause to what it saw as an unchangeable document. Additionally, the Pope's assertion of universal authority and the differing views on the use of icons further deepened the divide. This tension came to a head in the 11th century, leading to mutual excommunications between Pope Leo IX and Constantinople's Patriarch Michael. Continuing in this context, let's turn our attention back to Brookside and the building of the Orthodox Church there. This building, St. George, built in 1909, burns later that same year, and is replaced by a new temple named Protection of the Mother of God. In 1912, a particularly destructive tornado destroyed this second building. The newspapers report that Brookside residents see hymnals floating overhead, lodged in the limbs of nearby trees, their pages keeping time as they dance in the wind. By 1916, the vibrant and resilient congregation built a third and final time a temple on Park Avenue, featuring a striking cupola dome that proudly enhances Brookside's skyline. This remarkable third temple is named in honor of St. Nicholas, the Wonderworker, the Bishop of Myra, a historical figure from Asia Minor, now known as Turkey. Step inside St. Nicholas Church and Alabama's red clay hills fade away. You're in a world of golden icons, pungent incense, and candlelight. The church follows a traditional design, facing east to greet Christ's return as the Bible hints in Ezekiel 43:2. And I saw the glory of the God of Israel coming from the east, his voice like the roar of rushing waters, and the land was radiant with his glory. The temple has three parts. The narthex, a modest entry where worshippers shift from the secular world to the sacred. The nave, where worshippers gather amid hand-painted icons of Slavic saints. And the sanctuary, a few steps higher than the nave, where the altar is located, a holy space just for clergy, shielded by a screen of saints' faces and a set of 3 doors. If you look closely at this picture, you can see Father Paul as he stands in front of the open doors of the screen. There are 3 pews along the sides and back of the nave. Traditionally, congregants stood for the long liturgy, which lasts from 1.5 to 2 hours. But that's not necessarily true now. Pews are available for visitors, older adults, and individuals who may require additional support. The exterior of the church, wood-framed initially, was refaced with brick in 1965 to withstand the ravages of time in Alabama's humid climate. This renovation preserved its Eastern European flavor while ensuring longevity. And what about that onion dome that sits atop the church? Today, the dome still dominates Brookside's horizon. It's symbolic of heaven, like a flaming candle pointed toward God, symbolizing Jesus' light in the world. And we shouldn't forget the bell tower, which rings worshippers into service, and in days gone by alerted the town to mining disasters. And what about those crosses with the slanted footbar? The top bar represents the inscription that Pilate placed above Jesus' head. The longer center bar is where Jesus hung, and the lower slanted bar, well, that has a couple of stories. Some say that it represents the two thieves that hung on each side of Jesus, one on the left, unrepentant and going to hell, the other on the right, repentant and spending eternity in paradise with Christ. Another explanation is that Christ in his agony twisted the footbar with his feet as he writhed in pain. Worship at St. Nicholas adheres to the Julian calendar. The Divine Liturgy is an 1.5 to 2 hour immersion in chant, scripture, and the Eucharist. During liturgical worship, all human senses are actively engaged, including the scent of incense, the air thick with smoke, and the incense indicative of prayers rising heavenward. The visual impact of icons painted in vibrant colors gives congregants a window into heaven, reminding them of those saints who've gone before. A taste of communion bread and wine brings congregants to the table with God, and the sound of chanting and singing ties to the most ancient traditions of the Church. This multisensory experience involves the whole body in an act of worship.
Who keepeth truth forever, who executeth judgment for the wronged, who giveth food to the...
Father Benedict Tallant dedicated over 40 years of his life to serving as the cherished parish leader. From 1962 into the early 2000s, originally from Walker County and brought up in the Methodist Church, he found a profound calling in Russian Orthodoxy, completing his coursework through home study. His passionate commitment to preserving the Church's Slavic heritage within the Bible Belt garnered immense respect from our community. Renowned for his warm spirit, delightful humor, and steadfast devotion to biblical teachings, Father Benedict was instrumental in nurturing tradition and fostering a vibrant community spirit among his beloved congregation. Father Benedict passed from this life into the next in 2020. Today, Father Paul Davis and his wife Matushka Bridget carry that torch, guiding the parish since 2013. The parish's resilience shines through adversity. The 1920 coal strike shuttered the mine and scattered families, yet services never ceased. Years passed with no regular priest except for holidays and special occasions, yet the services never ceased. The laity led the congregation. During the Great Depression and the war, services never ceased. Even the devastating 2003 flood that submerged downtown Brookside spared the church, and services continued. St. Nicholas isn't just a church, it's Brookside's heartbeat. In 2010, the Alabama Tourism Department called St. Nicholas a historically and religiously significant temple. And they weren't wrong. The Congregation of St. Nicholas keeps alive the ancient traditions of not only regular service, but the holidays as well, especially the joy of Pascha, or Easter. Pascha, the celebration of Christ's resurrection, is the most important and joyous feast in the Russian Orthodox Church. It begins at midnight with a candlelit procession around the church, symbolizing the journey to the empty tomb, and culminates in the triumphal proclamation, "Christ is risen." The darkened church bursts into light as bells ring and the Divine Liturgy of Pascha begins, filled with radiant hymns and rejoicing. After the service, baskets of festive food, such as sweetbread and brightly decorated eggs, are blessed and shared, ending the long Lenten fast. Families greet one another with the traditional words, "Christ has risen," and indeed, he is risen. And every November, the town comes alive with the Russian Slavic Food Festival. Thousands flock for pierogies, borscht, and baked goods, made from recipes older than the church itself, whipped up by the Sisterhood of St. Olga. You can tour the church, shop in the gift shop, and browse the history room to discover the story of Slavic immigrants who helped build America. The church is a bridge between Brookside's past and the wider world. So, as we conclude our exploration of Brookside's Orthodox congregation, let's reflect on its profound lesson. In the shadow of slag heaps and the glow of candlelit vespers, faith endures and community overcomes. From its 1894 founding amid Slavic dreams in Alabama's coalfields, through strikes and floods to its vibrant festival today, St. Nicholas stands as a testament to the immigrant spirit that built America. It reminds us that true heritage is not in stone or steel, but in the living celebration of community and grace. I warmly invite you, whether you're passionate about history, a lover of delicious food, or on a quest for the sacred, come, explore Brookside's St. Nicholas Church. Thanks for gathering with us in the square. If you enjoyed today's tale, hit follow, like, and subscribe. If you have a story you'd like for us to look into, let us know in the comments. This has been Town Square Tales. Until next time.